society, my society. Here with all the friends I wanna see. Don't need no high society to get me where I wanna be. My society, yeah, that's for me. Oh, my society.
With me, but I'll just run the thing.
Yeah.
You can just sit here and you can hear the sounds of Iowa.
Right.
So, how do we want to do this? Like,
Well, you know what we could do is we could do.
welcome to the TCB Society.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. Welcome to the TCBcast EAP Society crossover.
Yeah, something
Round
like
one. No, anyway. But no. So I guess we can start with the thing. So we're here in Iowa.
Yeah.
I mean, I live here, but so Justin has just visited and seen the in progress season 4 EAP Society set.
It's looking good.
Thank you. Nothing like pasting 15 billion pieces of Elvis wallpaper pattern on our walls.
It's paying off, though.
It is. It really is. I'm amazed that it worked because it's and the thing is we're doing the same thing. I am learning the mistakes that Hollywood has known for years when making a set.
Replicating.
Yeah, when making a set. I will say it'll be closer than the set on Priscilla. It's not a high bar, It's funny. For a while, I was thinking, "Oh, we need to contact them and get there." And then I went back and looked at the movie.
If you actually look at it,
yeah, and it's like, "Oh, never mind."
It gives you the gist.
It gives you the gist of it.
But that's a lot of the Elvis biopics. You get the gist of Graceland, but it's when you actually pick it apart, it's like no, that's not Graceland.
No.
That reminds me, which was the one that had the spiral staircase?
Oh God,
was that Kurt Russell?
I might have been.
That might have been.
You know what's funny is I should have. Yeah, it would have been worth it as much as we've spent for this other. It would have been worth it to fly to Australia a couple years ago and just rip shit off the wall. Just go. I'm an extra. Yeah, that's it. Sure. I'm an extra. Listen, I'm a voice double. I don't know, whatever. So we're getting everything together, and we've been talking about plans and things that we're looking at for the future and all of this other, and then we start talking about the Baz Luhrmann announcement talking
EPiC,
about exactly.
EPiC, Elvis Presley in concert.
It's a great title.
It's a great title. I wasn't initially convinced that was going to be the title because he faked us out before. I jumped the gun in 2022 when he it might have been 2021 when he put out that very first teaser.
Right.
Because at the end it just said TCB.
Oh.
And I was like, well, it makes sense from it's Colonel Parker, Elvis, we knew that. So I was like, well, maybe it'll be like TCB or Elvis TCB, taking care of business or something. So I was hedging on EPiC.
Yeah.
But I like it.
Yeah. So you were thinking TCB was going to be this?
The 2022 movie.
Oh, I will tell you this. Because, we talked...
The marketability of Elvis, though, just...
Well, it is. Well, and I think... I have my suspicions, we've talked about this before, I have my suspicions that when this was going to be what the movie was going to be initially, which was more of a Colonel Parker thing, I have a feeling taking care of business...
Basically before they realized that they had something great with Austin.
Exactly. Yeah. Austin was the linchpin. And I think that... I've said this before, but I believe that Superman Returns was written as an actor-proof movie.
Yeah.
Because the movie gave Brandon Routh, and Brandon is great. I've gotten... I don't know him well, but I know basically the rest of his family because they live here. Mm-hmm. And not in the house. That'd be weird. So the Superman Returns was made as an actor-proof movie because they didn't know if they'd have somebody that could pull off anything close to Christopher Reeve. Yeah. And they did not trust enough in what Brandon could do. Yeah. So they didn't let him they didn't let him spread his wings. I think they came to that same crossroad with Austin Butler but Baz being
they had enough
smart.
They had enough time too with COVID,
Exactly,
where things got pushed out a bit. It's like, okay, well, maybe we can restructure it a bit.
Yep,
and make it a little more Elvis centric because,
yeah,
and I think
smart.
I mean, reading the bits of the screenplay that you and I and John talked about when I came out last time.
Yeah.
It was so much more Colonel Parker centric.
Yeah.
So I think you're absolutely right on that.
Because I think they thought that was their in to do it, and then once they realized they had that,
what if we have an Elvis that people just are like,
right
on,
right, exactly. And because and honestly, that's a pretty good if you're a movie studio and you're just kind of hedging your bet, you're not really sure. Like there have been so many really bad. Really bad Elvis portrayals, and so if you're like, okay, if this is going to be anywhere between mild and craptacular, which I love that word. I think I got it from The Simpsons. I don't know, but anyway, if it's going to be anywhere between mild and craptacular, then we need something that is going to be, so we don't have to see him much,
right?
Because imagine if Austin was what we got for the mercifully short but still not short enough 40 seconds of Jacob Elordi in a jumpsuit going on stage.
Yeah.
And holy God.
Yeah.
Ouch. Or maybe the studio was making it.
Studio might have, yeah. I mean, Warner Brothers, very marketable, Tom Hanks.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Tom Hanks is super marketable, and they just got done getting their clocks cleaned with all the DC stuff. And, it's like, they've got all these franchises that are just bleeding money.
Right.
Last thing they need is an Elvis thing that's going to cost, $500 million and whatever. So, I mean, that's exaggeration. You all know. But when that changed, then they can move in a better direction, which, thank God they had the foresight for that.
True.
I mean, for all of you folks, and I don't know exactly where all this is going to go out to, but I want you to understand, wherever you sit on the spectrum, if you liked the movie, if you hated the movie, if you thought it was okay, if, I do not care where you sit on the spectrum. If you liked it, if you hated it, doesn't matter. We are where we are right now with EPiC.
Because of it.
Because of that movie's success.
Yeah.
Like, everybody going apeshit over that movie, including a lot of people. Look, Facebook is littered with people who are fans because of
that movie.
There are YouTube creators.
TikTok?
Yep, TikTok creators that are massive Elvis fans, young people reinvested in Elvis. And, and I will say, I had my concerns that depending on how the Priscilla movie was perceived, that it could undo the goodwill and the good work, and it didn't. That is huge. And that is a testament to, I understand that, the Elvis fandom has, the Elvis fandom is wonderful and beautiful, and there's a lot of great people. There are certain facets of the fandom that have become insular in the idea that everyone is trading off of Elvis's name.
Right.
And because that's been our experience for a long time, it's been bottom feeders, it's been hangers on, it's been whatever. Baz Luhrmann does not need this Elvis film.
No.
He didn't. And
that's why the movie is Baz Luhrmann's Elvis,
right?
Not just Elvis,
right? I only stress that for this reason.
He definitely doesn't need the money.
Well, no, he doesn't need the money for sure. He could sit in Australia and just live. But the success and the 2022 film catching fire the way that it did in people. Every single Elvis fan should thank their lucky damn stars that happened, even if you hate it. Even if you absolutely hate the film and everything it stands for. You should thank your lucky stars that it exists for two reasons. One, Baz Luhrmann clearly got the Elvis bug authentically.
Yes. We wouldn't be getting EPiC if he didn't have the bug.
Well, that's exactly it. And because he is... I don't want to say artistically invested in Elvis. He is personally invested in Elvis. Sorry, that's my phone. He is personally invested in Elvis as an artist, and it shows.
Yeah.
And look, this EPiC thing, I mean, a lot of folks want complete concerts. I am right there with you. Anybody who knows me from the EAP Society knows the thing. I am Mr. Completionist. And the reason I say that is because this is our best shot. We are staring it right in the face. Do not don't think that there's a better chance coming along. Baz has built a reputation, and I know some people want to be snarky. He has built a reputation as a mover and a shaker in Hollywood.
Yep.
When he wants to make something, it tends to get done.
And that's the thing, is that, as you were alluding to, Warner Brothers with DC got their clock claimed.
Yep.
They were canceling movies left and right, projects left and right after Baz Luhrmann's Elvis came out.
Yep.
There were movies that went in the can, like the trash can.
Yeah.
The recycle bin. Before they even came out.
Batgirl,
the Scooby-Doo sequel.
The
completed movies.
Yeah, the Wile E. Coyote versus Acme or whatever it is, that is finally seeing the light of day just because they had to fight tooth and nail.
And they ended up, I think, somebody else picked up distribution rights or something like that.
They did. And see, here's the thing. That's a property that Warner Brothers owns. Lock, stock, and barrel. With Elvis, you've got licenses.
Elvis, you got EPE, you got Authentic Brands, you've got Sony, you've got the music publishers, you've got all these other things working against the odds.
You have 6 different places that I can name that you have to get licensing from in order to make this work.
Yeah.
And they
still went through with it because, as you're just about to say, the only person who got us that is Baz
Luhrmann. So, like I said, I don't care what you think of the 2022 film. We wouldn't have what we're going to get, and I want to stress this: we need to. And I know for a long, long time you've heard a lot of people say we need to support this so we can get something better. And after a while, you're like, okay, look, this is we're being sold a bill of goods.
Yeah.
This is not that.
This is not Viva Elvis.
This is not Viva Elvis. I'm contractually obligated not to talk about it. No, this is not what we had. This is not the piecemeal stuff that Elvis fans have been fed for decades.
Yeah.
This is somebody who has their own clout, who has their own name, who is taking the good time to put something together that in any other scenario we wouldn't have. And here's the thing: if we can support EPiC, but also say, hey, this is great, now we want this.
Yeah.
Baz is one of the few people that would actually listen. I cannot tell you how often most of the powers that be, and I'm not naming names or anything specific, but you can pretty much put them all down.
Yeah.
The people that would, most of the people that would listen to the fans are, I'm going to be real controversial, I'm really sorry. Most of the people that would listen to Elvis fans are dead.
Yeah.
And I hate that. We have an opportunity right now because Baz is coming in and he's got his own clout and he's got all this stuff. See, Warner Brothers, if an Elvis fan showed up at their door with $9 million and said, I want to license
let me in the
stuff, they'll say no. Warner Brothers doesn't care about that kind of money. They go on clout and name, and it's an old school club. It's like it's one of the last old school clubs that exists.
Yeah.
So you need somebody that's got able to throw their weight around in order to make things happen.
Well, and that's exactly the point, is that the way that Baz talks in this press announcement that came out from the Sony event that he spoke at.
Yeah.
But the fact that, again, it's not a matter of just having the money. You could raise all the money in the world, and if you go to Warner Brothers and ask, they're not gonna do it. But because it's Baz Luhrmann, he's proven himself to them. He's got the clout to go
68 boxes of film.
Boxes of film. Okay. So that's a lot of stuff, but that's a lot of stuff that's now been digitized. That's stuff that's been cleaned up and made usable for editing for his purposes.
Yep.
That's stuff that would have just been sitting there in those boxes all this time, and we would probably never have seen any of it get the light of day anytime soon, because the economic reality, the cost to restore that is just, I mean, astronomical.
Well, I can tell you this. I'm trying to think of how I can word this to not get too specific. I know people who had movie footage that you hadn't seen.
Yeah.
And they went in with, I don't know if it was $2 million, something like that, to the movie studio, and they already owned the footage.
Yeah.
And they said, we want to license this or whatever. And they were turned down. Warner Brothers, or no, I don't think it was Warner, I don't remember. The movie studio said no. They didn't have to do anything. The guy already owned the footage and was willing to pay him millions of dollars, and they said no.
Yeah.
I want everybody to understand just now, when it comes to like music and stuff in movie vaults and things like that, that's a little bit of a different story.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to video footage, these companies have a lot of money and not a lot of sense. The thing is that they're so large and they're so focused on the new thing that they're going to make that getting them to look back, except for an anniversary thing, like you got to have somebody who is so passionate about this and has friends in high places at the very least, or is a person in a high place to go, I want to do this and I'm going to make a stink if you don't.
Yeah.
And he's in that position in like spades, which is very helpful for us as fans. Like having, if we had 5 of him in different realms of the Elvis world, we'd have everything by now.
Yeah.
So cultivating this man, like
all things pass through Baz.
All things pass through Baz. And I'm not trying to say, not trying to say that, in Baz we trust or anything. Like always be cautious and all that.
Facilitated the opportunity
Bingo.
For us to have more in the future.
That's exactly right.
Because what's to say that a few years down the road, the footage is maybe already usable.
Yeah, it's already clean.
Maybe 10, 15 years down the road, it's a completely new filmmaker we've never heard of who suddenly has clout, but is also an Elvis fan.
Exactly. Yeah. No, but seriously, though, you're right. It might, what Baz is doing might inspire the next great filmmaker who might make something that is inspiring enough. Sorry, there goes Charlie Rogers.
We're live, we're live in Iowa.
There goes with the sickle. Come on. The long story short, this is a really good opportunity that I really, Elvis fans have been egregiously exploited for decades. I think that's safe to say. And some of it we brought on ourselves, because even though we know that they hold stuff back, we buy it anyway. Mm-hmm. So we're our own worst enemy with some of those things. We don't demand the things that we should demand in certain instances.
Well, that goes back to when he was alive, too.
It does. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So long story short is, this is a really good opportunity, and I understand that Elvis fans have been exploited, feel exploited, which is where a lot of the negative emotions come from, and I get that. I understand that. This is a different animal.
Yeah.
Because Baz has his own clout and his own stuff, and he is doing this. He could have done, if he was anybody else, he would have made his Elvis movie moved on.
Yep.
But the fact that he didn't do that, and that he saw an opportunity here, means that there is the distinct possibility that if we really get behind this and find ways to voice to him that we want more, if he has as much adoration for Elvis as I get the impression that he does, we'll see. I might be wrong, but I don't think I am. If that's the case, he might be able to do things for video on par with or greater than Ernst has done with audio.
Mm-hmm.
As far as finding things and restoring things, clearly he has an interest in searching for them and digging them up.
Yeah.
Because look at all of the people. Like for the longest time, we thought, look at the lost performances and the stuff with. Well, here's another thing. Rick Schmidlin with the That's the Way It Is special edition. We thought for decades.
Yep.
They found everything. The first EPiC trailer piece, I was like, okay, I see a couple of new things. And then this thing that he just puts out, there are screen color combinations I've never seen before. I'm sitting there going, what the?
Where did you find this?
Because I've seen the angles that they generally were filming from.
Right.
Like when he's saying like 60-some boxes, I don't know how many tapes were in a box, but the box, I think the tapes were, if I remember correctly, like, 15 minutes or something like that per reel? At least for That's the Way It Is. It's different from on tour. But, like, they're finding angles we'd never seen, which means that this is stuff that Rick Schmidlin didn't have the clout to find.
Yeah.
That's the short and long of it.
Yeah.
Either the clout or the tenacity.
Right.
So whichever one Baz has, that is good for us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's with Rick, it's like he's working on a budget of, okay, you have X amount of time.
That's true.
To spend in that, you know, looking.
Yeah. Ted Turner gave him, $1 million?
Yeah. Whereas Baz Luhrmann, it's like, okay, however much time you want to take.
Yep.
Dig away.
Make it happen.
If you want to...
Find it all. you can tell. He's just that kind of guy. He's just like, find it all. And you bring it all to me because I don't know what I'm going to use.
Yeah. And it's interesting, the way that he's talked about how unseen, unheard, and certainly some of it will be stuff that we have seen, have heard to some degree in some format.
Sure.
Certainly not in this quality.
No.
I'm sure that at least in terms of saving audio from some of these sources, I'm sure they're using, top of the line cleanup, probably some AI solutions probably as well to help clean things up. Yeah. I would imagine.
I'm hoping they do that sparingly. That is, if I have one concern about all of this, it's that. Although I will say, the footage that I've seen so far, I'm not seeing like the overproduced AI cleanup stuff. Right. And that bodes well. Yeah. Because I don't want like...
Well, it's not going to be a get back situation.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But that's the thing, is that we've got things that even if we as Elvis fans who are like super hardcore have seen and heard it all, quote unquote, there's things now that are being uncovered that it's either stuff that we really haven't, or general audiences simply don't know it exists.
Right.
Like, theoretically someone can go listen to the 72 interview on YouTube because somebody has thrown it up there. But to get it in this context, to have that framing, I was talking last night was it with you guys or with the TCBcast group chat, where my thought is like this: if they're using that interview and those interviews to structure it around, it feels more like a fulfillment of what the original intention of the directors of Elvis on Tour had in mind. Yeah, where it was sort of you get a sense of it from the completed film a little bit with the montages in retrospect, looking back on his career. Yeah. But it's not as thorough as we seem to know that the concept was initially. Right. You know. And this seems more like a fulfillment of that promise.
Because they really only got that one. They really only got that one sit down. With him, or he's not sitting down.
The one
backstage interview. Yeah. But that interview might be on YouTube, but that interview is not complete. Because that tape hadn't been found complete before, and not only that, this new source is in color. This new source is in color, and it's very likely more complete. So, the nice thing about this is we're finally getting a solid source, and who knows what else is missing?
Yeah, that we didn't even know about. Maybe
exactly.
Yeah. So this is going to be interesting. I'm really excited to see it. I'm excited by the teasers that he shared. It's easy to be cynical. As you were talking about, that we've had we've been burned a little bit before here and there. But,
oh, yeah. Well, the last time That's the Way It Is footage got put out, the fans were up in arms because, Smedlin had said that we were going to get all of this bonus footage, and then that got yanked by Warner Brothers, and it eventually got so bad that he told everybody to tape it off the television, and if they wanted the extra songs that were in the original version, to tape it off of television, and then the quality wasn't as good, and then when we finally got the extras, they weren't cleaned up. They were, half of them were.
And those are the ones that are still out there right now on the commercial DVD Blu-ray set.
God.
You go buy That's the Way It Is on Blu-ray. You get that bonus content, and it just looks miserable.
It does, yeah. And like some of those were not. Some of those were from the dailies cameras.
Well, sure,
not the main cameras.
Right.
And it's like, man, it is crazy. So, and that's the other thing too, is like you'd said earlier. If they're going through all of this footage and they're getting all of it ready, this is prep that the next people don't have to do.
Yep.
And it makes it easier, and at the very
probably
least...
cheaper.
A lot cheaper, because then MGM doesn't have to spend... Well, assuming that they have... Now, this does assume that they've cleaned up all of it.
Which may not be the case.
May not be the case. Baz has leaned heavily into the idea that it has.
Right.
If that is true, then that makes it much easier for the studio or whoever else to take the next steps to do more stuff with it.
And also just to, yes, I understand that it's disappointing that this isn't how some people would be preferring to get the footage.
Sure.
That maybe they don't mesh well with Baz Luhrmann's particular style.
Yeah.
That will probably be reflected in how it's edited and how it's presented. But again, all the groundwork has been laid.
Yeah.
Okay, this stuff has at least been pulled out once before. Mm-hmm. This stuff has been digitized once before so that he can put it in the editing bay.
Yeah. And
see how it fits.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, again... no matter if you even watch it and don't even end up liking EPiC, this is still a positive. It's a net positive. There's no way that this is not a net positive overall for the Elvis fandom. Because I think there's that hesitation from people of if it's just described as a documentary, people might be bored. They might not go out and see it. Like, I don't know if I want to watch a documentary. Mm-hmm. Well, is it a concert film? Because I don't know if I want to watch a concert film, or maybe that's not your thing, or maybe I would just like a factual retelling of his life or something like that. This is in between that, and he's marketing it that way. It's very clever because he's enticing people to go, okay, what is this?
Exactly.
Like, what is this supposed to be? They they build that curiosity, and then they want to go find out what it actually is. Because it can't just be a concert film.
Right.
Can't just be a documentary, because those things, there's expectations that come with that.
Yeah.
And those expectations won't capture everybody, but if you have something that's a little in a gray area, it's going to hopefully create a little bit of word of mouth.
Well, and there's nothing more enticing, and this is the first time that somebody's actually found the footage to be able to say, Elvis tells his story.
Yes.
That makes people go, what? Because all these years later, and now we have, so it's like, oh, this lost footage, because it's technically true.
Yeah.
This lost footage of Elvis telling his story, and then we're going to use more lost footage to help him tell his story. Yep. Like, that is powerful. The way people's brains work is, if it is a question mark, there's a lot of people, that becomes an itch that they have to scratch.
Yeah.
If they feel they understand it, they can set it to the side and they can forget about it. But a controversy or a question nags at them.
Yeah.
And so then they have to, if they want the answer, they have to go see it.
Yes.
And that means they have to go see Elvis.
Yeah.
And they're seeing Elvis himself. This is going to be one of the best entry points for new fans that exist, and I feel confident saying that, even having not yet seen this, just because they are a target with this, and they're not being targeted in like the superficial ways that, this is not a, hey there, fellow kids kind of thing. Like, he has an eye for the quick kinds of cuts and things that look very dynamic, and that will make Elvis
feel dynamic.
Yep.
And
now, Elvis
feel
doesn't...
like dynamic in a contemporary way.
Yep.
That if you just played it out as it was, might not quite be captured in the same way, because the way that they
the cultural moment
at the time that they shot it in the 70s felt dynamic.
Elvis was such a talented artist that you feel the charisma and the excitement and everything off of the video itself. Mm-hmm. But anybody that's ever edited a movie or even a YouTube video,
or a music video
or a YouTube video or a TikTok short can tell you that if you get the right cut, it takes something that's already incredible and just sells what you would have seen it live. It gives you that feeling that you would have seen if you were there. And nothing compares to being right there, but having something that is so powerful that it just every type of whereas audio, visual, just every experience about it conveys the same focused thing.
Yeah.
That will produce fans even more than the 2022 film will.
Yeah, because it's the real deal.
And I cannot freaking wait for this thing.
Yeah.
It's going to be incredible.
It'll be epic.
You've been listening to the TCBcast, an unofficial Elvis fan podcast.
Someone must have stomped on his head with those blue suede shoes.
Thank you and good night.